Good evening, welcome along to Inside the Hive. It's Thursday night, we're live here at Vicarage Road. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We've got a great show on the way for you over the next hour. We're going to look back at the point at Manchester United last weekend, look forward to this weekend when we take on Arsenal. We've got the nominees for Player of the Month coming up on the show. We're going to look forward to International Women's Day, which of course is next week. We're delighted to have the Women of Watford on the show tonight. We have also got Rosie Kmita taking on the 60-second challenge, and we'll be taking a look back at a day to remember from a couple of years ago. As always, get your questions in for our studio guests. Always good to get your thoughts and reactions to the show. You know how to do that by now. If you're watching on YouTube, in the comments section below, on Twitter at Watford FC, and use the hashtag of Inside the Hive. And can't do this show on my own, as we know. The one, the only, the legend, Mr. Tommy Mooney is with us this evening. Tommy, how are you?
Very well. Good evening.
Now, I know there's been no golf this week, so I'm not going to ask how the golf is. I'm going to ask you how the DIY is going.
Naively, we moved into a house on Monday that we're probably going to knock down in 3 or 4 months anyway and start again. And I thought I can rip all the carpets out, do all of the painting, make it look really nice for a summer. How wrong I was. How wrong I was, Michael. It's too much hard work. I have so much respect for all of you tradesmen out there.
Yeah. So there's no chance of Tommy Mooney the handyman if this doesn't go to plan for me and you?
Not if I might get one job, but I wouldn't be asked back. It's not reached the standards that I set myself, really, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. We'll call the professionals in. If you can help Tommy in any way, call 0800.
No, yeah. As soon as Susanna gets back, if she said it looks all right, I'm happy.
You're all right. That's all right then. Right, that's been eventful for you. Let's take a little look back, of course, the game over the last weekend, Manchester United. A nice little trip for you to Old Trafford?
Yeah, it was. It was a good day. Got fortunate at times, we know that. But I think the organisation and the performance in general was very, very good.
Well, a point on the road. Let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Matic under pressure from former Manchester United player Tom Cleverley. This is Ronaldo. Denied by the post. Matic. Bit of room here for Elanga.
Could be on the move.
Perfect return from Ronaldo. That's really good. Bruno Fernandes is in and denied by Ben Foster. He ran into heavy traffic, but he managed to get through it. Teyah for Ronaldo. The flag is raised. It's an ambitious ball from Matic. He's done well to find Teyah. Cathcart missed it. Elanga did it. Foster was scrambling. This is Lewers. Strong from Sissoko. He's held off Fred. This is Sarr. He took his time over it, Ismaila Sarr. Dennis. It deflected into the arms of Teyah. Oh, Pogba was a bit weak in the challenge. This is Lewers. Manchester United are patient. Bruno Fernandes. Pogba was close to it. It hit Ronaldo. Watford are working so hard out of possession. Bruno Fernandes, pocket of space. This is Sarr. 3-on-3. Ismaila Sarr. He could have put his name in lights there.
Well, a well-earned point on the road there. Tommy, it's always difficult to go to Old Trafford, you know, the theatre of dreams, and obviously years gone by, it was a ground that lots of people feared. Maybe not as fearful as it once was, but still to go there and get a point and keep a clean sheet as well is a massive achievement. Yeah,
I think United, they've had some stick this season, but their record is still very good under Renée. Obviously, we had a fabulous win here at Vicarage Road. But going there was going to be very, very hard. I just thought the way that the midfield and the defenders, and obviously, you know, Ben has a huge influence at the back on his back four. They thoroughly deserved the point. Got lucky at times, and as we've seen there, Ismaila Sarr almost nicked it at the end. But you've got to hit the target to score. It's one of those, and it perhaps would have been a little bit unfair. However, we're not neutrals here, so we wouldn't be too disappointed with that. A good performance on the road. I think that they fully deserve that 1 point.
You obviously mentioned Ben Foster there. Some big saves for him, but we know that's what he can do and do well.
Yeah, and we've seen it again in the Villa game, the way he came out and closed down Danny Ings and made himself look big. He did that exactly the same on Saturday, but got a hand on it. I just think he's very influential and organises. Without having the ball in his hands, he organises the back four very well. You can constantly hear his voice, and I think that's certainly helping with also playing behind the defensive pairing of Cathcart and Samir. It's looked a really strong triangle.
Certainly has. Right, let's hear from the man himself now. This is Ben Foster's post-match thoughts.
Ben, have you got your breath back yet after that?
Yeah, mate, I had my breath all the way through. I didn't have a lot to do, did I, to be fair? One save in the first half, a few bits and bobs here and there. But I've got to say, fair play to the lads in front of me. They were absolutely fantastic. You know, getting in front of shots, getting in front of crosses, winning headers, all that kind of stuff. It was nice to see. It's not very often you get to come to Old Trafford and keep a clean sheet. So, yeah, we can be happy with ourselves today.
Yeah, how happy are you with the overall performance? Because, like you say, it's not easy to come here and get a point.
No, it isn't, no. Don't get me wrong, they're going to have chances, they're going to have little bits and bobs and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, more possession than us. But, no, it was nice to see sort of all hands to the pumps today. I think that's the hallmark of a side that wants to get out of the trouble that they're in. And if we can start to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal, we've got a chance.
Good to hear from Ben Foster there. It's blasé, a couple of saves here and there. You've done a lot more than that.
I think his bits and bobs were worth a little bit more talking about. Like I say, I just think his distribution was very, very good when we were in possession of the ball, and obviously keeping the ball out of the net is his job, along with everybody else in the team. And I just think that they look like they have a little bit of confidence when they're defending now across the back four, that I thought were strong as a unit and individuals. And again, the midfield three I thought were outstanding. And you know, I'm repeating myself, but we deserved that point away at Old Trafford. It's not too many teams can say that when they leave there.
Massively. More reaction from you now. Then let's hear from Imran Louza.
Imran, how happy are you with that performance?
Oui, forcément. C'est un bon point pris ici. Toutes les équipes ne font pas un match nul et un clean sheet à Manchester. Voilà, donc c'est du bon, c'est que du bon pour la suite. Et puis on peut aborder la semaine avec de la confiance avant l'arrivée d'Arsenal à la maison.
How pleased are you with the defensive work of the team today? At the end, you had every player back defending for the team.
Oui, c'est vrai, tout le monde a bien défendu. Tout le monde s'est donné à fond jusqu'à la fin. Et voilà, il y a toujours eu cette crainte à la fin de prendre ce petit but qui nous fait mal et qui aurait plombé notre performance d'aujourd'hui, mais on a bien tenu et c'est un clean sheet aujourd'hui.
And a great show of support from the away fans today. How much could you hear of that on the pitch and how much confidence did that bring you?
Oui, forcément, ils sont toujours là derrière nous, mais que ce soit à domicile ou à l'extérieur. Et c'est quelque chose de bon pour nous, car ça nous pousse à courir plus, à donner le meilleur de nous-mêmes. Et c'est important qu'ils soient là, on les remercie encore une fois. Et puis, si je peux leur donner un petit message, c'est qu'on ne lâchera pas jusqu'à la fin et on va tout donner jusqu'à la fin.
Good to hear from Imran Louza there. Obviously, he's one of those players that's come back from the Africa Cup of Nations. How instrumental is he going to be in this final part of the season?
Very, very important. Certainly in possession of the ball. And he also allows Moussa Sissoko and Tom Cleverley to get forward and try and help the attacking front three. So I think it's, you know, his performances have been pivotal since he's come back. And we'll need certainly more of that. In possession of the ball, his passing range is excellent. You know, and he mentioned the supporters there. Myself and John Marks were sat right by the Watford supporters, and they were outstanding the whole game, singing all of the way through. So we're going to need the support. The players are going to need the supporters on their side too. So, you know, results like that away at Old Trafford certainly go a long way to helping that.
Yeah, certainly 4 points off Manchester United this season is no mean feat, certainly with that one. Obviously, defensively, very strong, midfield, good link play. Going forward, from your perspective, obviously at Old Trafford, chances, but not quite.
Yeah, probably a little bit off on the day. You could say in games gone by that, you know, the front three and the way that we attack is certainly our strongest asset. The front three were quiet, but then when you're away at Old Trafford, you don't expect to have too much possession of the ball in their half of the pitch. They did a really good job defensively, helping out in wide areas, and you know, I think that there'll be more to come from them. they've got to certainly hit the target more. Like we talked about Ismail Assar's shot, he had a lot more space than he actually thought he had at the time. And if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery, but you've got to hit the target to score a goal.
No, for sure. Let's just talk about the way the team are playing. Obviously, a few weeks in now to Roy Hodgson being in charge of the side. And obviously, we mentioned that organisation that first couple of weeks. You could see that he was getting them a lot more organised. What do you make of the progress so far and how we're playing? Obviously, getting that point's a massive bonus with it as well.
Well, going away to Villa Park and getting 3 points because of that organisation, I genuinely think it's a stable base to work from. And perhaps when you're away from home, or indeed, you know, this week against Arsenal, you can afford to sit in your shape and then counter-attack those teams. I think it's a good base to work from, and it takes time to gel on the training ground, and you can see that they're doing that. I think we're getting more out of some of the players now that are starting to understand the way that Roy wants to work, and that, you know, with the situation we're in, that penny needs to drop quickly, and it looks to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, massively. Well, let's hear from the manager himself now. This is Roy Hodgson's thoughts after that match at Old Trafford.
And to be fair, apart from maybe the Brighton game, where I don't think we were particularly good, certainly not in the first half, I think the team's done pretty well. You know, I've not really come away from any of those games thinking, well, that was really bad today, or, you know, there's been things I'd have liked to have seen better, and there's things that I've said to myself, we need to do more work on this. But I think if we take it globally, in those 6 games, they certainly have tried to give us what we are trying to preach they need to give us. And when I say us, I mean Watford Football Club. I mean, it's not interested, I don't have a personal interest in it in the sense that they've got to give me Roy Hodgson or Ray Lewington, but they need to give something to Watford Football Club because, unfortunately, we are where we are in the league. If we're going to stay in the league, it's going to need many more performances like this tonight. But I think it gives us the chance to say to them, well, look, you know now, if you can reproduce performances like this one, you're not going to play Man United at Old Trafford every week. There'll be other games where the team's a little bit more in your ballpark. Maybe some points will come our way.
As always, a very honest reaction there from Roy Hodgson after the match on that one. And of course, that game was the final match of February. So that does mean it is time now to get our nominees for Player of the Month.
Is never exhausted, and you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but his life is hard. But it gets better when you grind it smart. I'm just really trying to leave a mark. We tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far.
Always been real, we don't fake it all.
Tired of 9 to 5, just make enough to survive. Only living on the weekends. You really thinking that's why I'm alive? Busting out the scenes, time to live my dreams, do the things deep inside of me. This life, it continues with fighting me, but I don't have quitting inside of me. I will not jump in these boxes they throwing me. Talking to God and there's so much he's showing me. Shaping me, growing me, taking me sowing seeds. A growing tree, y'all get a load of me. Yeah, don't let them slow on me. I get the bag like a grocery. I'm on my grind like I'm supposed to be. And I do not care if you notice me.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Well, there we go. Those are your nominations for the Player of the Month for February. Craig Cathcart, Megan Chandler, Ben Foster, Teyah Goldie, Hassan Kamara and Samir. If you want to get your vote in for that one, it's open until 5 p.m. tomorrow via the club website and the app. Of course, Tommy, you've seen a lot of matches over the last month. Some great names in there as well. Any particular standouts?
Well, I've already mentioned the triangle of Ben, Craig and Samir. And then with their experience and knowledge and the way that they've held the defence together, and then you've got Megan and Teyah and Hassan, sheer energy and enthusiasm that every supporter likes to see. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree or argue with any of those choices.
And I won't put you on the spot and ask you who you're voting for, don't panic. Right, so of course March is an incredibly busy month, lots of games on the way, and of course coming up this Saturday, 5th of March, 7:30 kickoff. The women are playing under the lights at Kings Langley as they take on Sheffield United. Get yourself down there to support them. Tickets.watfordfc.com. There's 25% off books. World Book Day, of course, today. If you want to get your hands on some absolute classics available in the club shop, shop.watfordfc.com. That's only for today. If you're one of our younger fans that joins us here on the show, great to have you watching along and hopefully you enjoy it. Don't forget the Junior Hornets offer we have for you. We've got new membership packs in there, a chance to get on the away days, some giveaways and mascot packages as well. You can find out more by going to juniorhornets.watfordfc.com. And of course, there is another match on the way this weekend as well. Sunday, March the 6th, 2 o'clock kickoff. Watford taking on Arsenal. As always, Tommy will be in the commentary box for that. Stay tuned to all the club channels for all the exclusive build-up and reaction. And of course, this weekend as well, we begin our celebrations for International Women's Day, kicking off on Saturday. International Women's Day, of course, is on Thursday, and Women's History Month runs for the entire month. So lots of celebrations to come over the next 4 weeks. And of course, just a couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the amazing work of Anne Swanson as well. So lots to celebrate when it comes to life here at Watford Football Club. And one special thing to celebrate is a project that got off the ground about 12 months ago. It's the Women of Watford. And they came in to speak to us a little bit earlier on today's show because Kate Lewers and Laura Goods came in to talk about Women of Watford. Kate, Laura, thank you so much for joining us on Inside the Hive tonight. Great to have you here with us. We're going to talk lots about Women of Watford this evening. But first of all, I want to kick off by chatting about your journeys and your supporter history of being a Watford fan. So, Kate, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I started coming to Watford games back in 1999, so Watford had been promoted to the Premiership. My brother was a massive Newcastle fan at the time, so we came so he could see Alan Shearer. That has changed over over the last 20 or something years, and now, yeah, diehard Watford fans, all of us.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How about for you?
So my first match was in 1973, and I came with my dad, and I feel very fortunate that I started coming to Watford just before the first GT era. So it was just an amazing, amazing experience. And, you know, so I've seen Watford in all 4 divisions. And yeah, I'm still here.
Amazing. I'm very envious of that you got to see the GT era. That would have been amazing to witness.
The lines on my face.
No, definitely not. Right, okay, let's talk about experience as supporters then, because it's changed massively through the great work you're doing, and it's changed massively over the last few years. The more we see women's football and the whole stories and the narrative of how the world is changing in such a positive way. How has the experience for you attending match days changed from your first experience to now?
Yeah. I think when I was first coming at the age of 9, I was less passionate than my family, and I think part of that was just not really seeing a space for me. Just from walking into the stadium, it was a male stadium announcer. It's 22 men running around on a pitch. There's nothing really advertising that there is a women's team, let alone how to get involved with that. So it was just very, very male oriented. I think over the last couple of years especially, the club have been doing some amazing work, you know, including women in the kit launch videos, for example, just to show that there are women involved in Watford as well, and that's really, really important. So I think back to, you know, the little Kates that are coming today at 9 years old, actually how amazing that is. So yeah, I feel a lot more included and a lot more like I'm wanted here.
And how about for you, then?
I think that Watford is very unique, and even in the 70s and 80s, it was a family club. There were lots of kids and there were lots of women. And I came here during the hooligan years of the 80s, and to be honest, I never felt threatened in Vicarage Road. I don't know if I was just not aware of what was going on or whatever, and I think that's real credit to Watford Football Club. I think as I got older, then I started going to away matches, and generally it's fine, but there are occasions where I do feel ill at ease. But I think Watford is really special And it has always been in terms of welcoming women and children.
I guess we've been really lucky, haven't we? Because only a couple of weeks ago with the renaming of the family stand for Anne Swanson, you know, to have a lady like Anne involved in the club for such a long period as well. That she's almost like trend setting the right word, paving the way, wasn't she? Really,
she really was, and what a great tribute to an amazing lady, the original Woman of Watford.
No, 100%.
Really.
Let's talk about Women of Watford then, because the whole idea kind of spawned about 12 months ago, and Kate, obviously you were on Hive Live at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of slightly bananas to think that it's been a whole year since that conversation. But yes, I appeared on Hive Live with two other female fans who are also heavily involved with Women of Watford FC. And I guess the point at the time was just to talk about the experiences of being a female fan, what's changed, what hasn't changed, has there been progress, what more progress is there to make? And so it was trying to find that balance, trying to keep it really positive, but also actually acknowledging that we do still have a way to go. And then I don't know if you remember, but this time last year also there was then the Sarah Everard tragedy, which was a really heavy week. And I found it really quite frustrating. How am I still talking about this? You know, I'm 30 years old. How is this still an issue? And why am I talking and not doing? And so actually, because I was in touch with the club anyway, through the Hive Live appearance, it's like, okay, let's do something. Let's make football safer for women. Let's start there and actually, in the process, create a community of female fans, which has been the sort of a really lovely side effect.
Yeah. And how did you get involved, Laura?
Well, when I first read about Women of Watford, I was really excited about it. So I think I was an early adopter.
You really were, yeah.
And great credit to Kate and what she's done. And it's great to have a community of women that we can talk about our shared obsession with Watford Football Club, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, or, you know, we've had a couple of socials, and that's been really, really great. And also now that the club is kindly doing block bookings for away matches, that's just brilliant. Yeah. Going to away match and sitting with a group of women supporters is fantastic, and we're getting to know people. And I think when you come to a club, you tend to know the people immediately around you. But I've never sort of really known other Watford fans unless you've met them through work or sort of socially or whatever. But to have that sense of community, we've realised that actually we're crying out for that. So well done, great kudos to Kate.
And we were chatting just before we came on air with this and saying how quickly it's grown and how much it's escalated, and sometimes that's because these things are needed.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I went into it so naively, just thinking, you know, maybe 50 people will want this. And it's quite scary as well, just being that person to put your head above the parapet and going, I feel like this is an issue. Does anybody else feel the same? And so the fact that the response has just been so instant and so passionate is, it's really something special. And I'm really excited to see where it can go in the future as well.
Well, you mentioned obviously going to those away games. Was it something that always kind of put you off going to away games because of, you know, that the atmosphere that maybe wasn't as welcoming as kind of we're creating here at Watford?
Well, as I say, a lot of away games I haven't had a problem with, but there have been a few. But it's just really great. It's an enhancement to go and feel that sense of that sense of community and that sense of security. You know, one thing that happened when we went to Brentford away was actually you met people in the pub and we all walked to the ground together. So that was really good. And it's just that feeling of going to a away match, knowing you're going to be sat with a group of women, some of whom you know now if you've been going to quite a few, and that's a real positive.
And I guess that community thing's a real important side of it, isn't it, as well, because everyone's got a different background, everyone's got a different story for the reason why they support a club, the reason why they come to football and why football's important to them. So I guess that must be one of the core key aims of that, is just really kind of being there to support each other as well as enjoying the football.
Yeah, I think female friendship is not to be underrated or underestimated. I don't know if it was similar for you, but growing up, I always felt pitted against other women. That was something I was seeing in the media constantly. I went to an all-girls school and we were always competing against one another. I would read a magazine, it's who wore it better, this woman or this woman, and rivalries. And that's not what it should be about. And so actually to have this community encouraging women to be friends. It sounds really sort of, but actually that's what it is. And now I have new friends who support Watford, which is just brilliant.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, no, it's really, really brilliant to have that sense of community. And I think, you know, we're opening up to people that we didn't really think about, you know, when we started. So, for example, we have a couple of single moms whose kids are fanatical Watford supporters. They come to Vicarage Road, but the mums were nervous about going to away matches, and certainly one of them has come to 2 away matches with her son, and she said she wouldn't have come without Women of Watford. And I think that's a fantastic endorsement that we're making football and supporting Watford accessible to more people.
No, it's a great testament to what you've been doing. So I mentioned that community kind of aspect of it being is one of the aims. What else would you say are the aims of what you're trying to achieve with the group?
Yeah, I think empowering future of female fans. And I want to say just within Watford, but actually looking a little bit beyond. And, you know, we are one of three female supporters groups in the whole of the football leagues. We're the only Premier League group of this kind, and so to have other female supporters groups popping up at other clubs would be really, really exciting. To encourage and I guess promote a more diverse fan base as well would be something that's I think really important to me. You
know, we're not trying to undermine the traditional fan base of football clubs, and we're not trying to undermine people's enjoyment of going to away matches, for example. We're just trying to make ours better.
No, completely. I think that's something that some people get confused of, doesn't it? Some people feel threatened, but it's not actually a threat at all. It's actually just creating an environment for fans to feel comfortable and be able to access it, which is really important. That kind of leads on quite nicely to the next question, really, of how it's been received. Has the perception changed? Because, you know, whenever you launch something new, there's always pushback from someone, especially on social media. But I've only really seen positive things about what you're trying to do, which is great, and hopefully that's all you've seen as well. But what has the reception been?
Yeah, I would say overwhelmingly positive, to the point where I'm sort of like, is Twitter just not letting me see any negative stuff? Again, I think it just really shows how much there was a need for this, and actually women maybe are feeling a little bit forgotten out in this football world, and so finally I've got the chance to tell my story, and I've got the chance to bond with others. And
we've got a huge number of male supporters as well, and that's really brilliant.
Yeah, and generally if we do ever get anything negative on social media, we don't tend to reply. But actually the people who do are those male allies, and I think that's really, really important. So thank you to those
people. I was going to ask that as well, like on a match day when you're travelling to the games, you know, obviously the whole Watford family, you know, obviously you share what you're up to with those fans as well, those more traditional audience that you would presume that goes to away games. You're having that chance to interact, and how are they receiving it and sharing stories and seeing you all there at the away games and the home games as well, of course?
Yeah, I think so. When we went to the Brentford game, which was our first block booking together, there was a comment actually from one of the Brentford stewards as we walked through security. They're like, "Oh look, mothers," and I do think, would you say that if you saw fathers and sons going to the football together? So it's sort of just challenging that what we consider to be normal, because actually when we go as a group of women, we are one of very few groups of women going to the football together. So let's normalise that. Let's make going to the football with your girlfriends a normal thing that you see in stadiums everywhere.
And what was great, you know, at the Villa game, for example, we had people contacting us via social media who were going to the match, weren't sat with us, but wanted to come and say hello. Yeah. So that was really great.
Nice. That's really good. That's such a positive impact already. Obviously, there are stereotypes and opinions, obviously, around women's football. And how good is it for you to see those changing? You know, we see the WSL on TV all the time now. You know, the conversation about women's sport, women in football, fans, players, is changing like rapidly. How much does it mean to you guys to kind of see that and be part of that journey?
Yeah, it's huge. I think representation really matters. You can't be what you can't see. And I think that's something that would have really mattered, or did really matter, to 9-year-old Kate walking into Vicarage Road all those years ago.
I think the TV exposure of women's football matches has been huge. I think it makes a huge difference. And I think with the Euros coming up this summer, that will also see a boost as well.
Yeah, and having the women's team here as well, it's been great to see them play a few games at the Vicarage Road. It's been amazing, hasn't it? It's just so good.
That's actually, so the first time WOW met as a group was to go and see, what was it, Watford? Liverpool, yeah, here at Vicarage Road. And yeah, that was really cool, women supporting women.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously you mentioned the TV exposure of the game, but obviously some TV exposure for yourselves as well. Talk us through that.
Yeah, we were on Football Focus. That was huge. I think, I keep going back to it, but I think it's just showing actually how important it is to sort of be getting this message out, and how female fans have been feeling over the past few years, what we have had to put up with at all levels, you know, going from non-league to Premier League, and the fact that there are TV companies out there that want to shine a light on this, just really shows that. And I think it's also then, from a fan's point of view, it's actually showing that, yes, you do matter as well. You have a seat at this table and you are worthy of it.
And I also think it's important now we're seeing female TV presenters and pundits on football. And again, that has made that's been huge in the last really sort of 3 or 4 years, I would say. This, you know, the increased number, and that's all about representation as well.
No, completely. Obviously, you're getting that exposure on television, you're getting that exposure around the club, but obviously people participating is really important. We're going to see a little bit of a clip a little bit later on in the show of your interview with Christian Kabasele, but having that support from the first team, from the club as a whole, and obviously people in the industry as well, you know, obviously some famous Watford fans that have been involved with, I think a couple of them came to the Brentford game as well. Like, how important is that for you?
Oh, it's huge. It's just really cool. Yeah, so we've had Kelly Summers and Emma Saunders, who both are really keen to be really involved with WOW. Kabasele said he's going to support us. So I think then, just in terms of raising awareness, we're able to reach more people. We did have somebody request to join our Facebook group the other day, who she doesn't actually support a team yet. She got interested in football from watching the Euros last year, and has just been looking for a team and has found our group through the TV exposure. So.
And I think it's really important to stress that right from the start, the club has been amazingly supportive. To be honest, that didn't surprise me, because we're that sort of club. But you know, don't take it for granted. And things like the block bookings for away matches. You know, the first one was in December, and really the group was formed in sort of June. So they've been brilliant as well.
We need to get that fan a scarf in the post.
Quick. Yeah, quick.
Don't give any other club a chance to get in there. Get a scarf in the post. Yeah. Where do you see Women of Watford going? Because obviously it's still early days. It's been an amazing trajectory so far. There's still so much to do in the world. We know that, with things that are going on in the world right now when it comes to as we are as a society and equality and everything. So there's obviously still a lot more work to do. But where do you kind of see the group going in the coming years?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of plans. I think bigger block bookings is then the first step, more people wanting to come to games with us, and that will just, I think, organically, quite naturally grow. We've got some sort of events lined up in the future, sort of maybe just opening people's eyes to maybe like a careers event, to what women can be doing in football. It doesn't have to just be on the pitch. There are so many opportunities there. And then more female supporters groups. I'd really like to see that, just so that more and more women can see that there's a space for them in that stadium.
I think Kate really has covered all the main issues. You know, she's really set a trail of other groups to come.
I really hope so.
Oh, amazing. Right, let's get some more people involved. Tell us how we can do that. How can we get involved, and fellow females can join the group?
Yeah, so on Facebook, if you just search for Women of Watford FC, a group will come up. We are a private group, so you just have to request to join, and you can come on into the wonderful community that is there. And then we're on social media, on Instagram at Women of Watford FC, and on Twitter at WOW Watford FC.
Perfect. Thank you so much for what you're doing. It's incredible to see. The reception is amazing. So please continue all that great work. And as always, if there's anything we can do here on Inside the Hive to help, please just let us know.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Massive thank you to Kate and Laura for joining us a little bit earlier on ahead of International Women's Day, which of course is next Tuesday. And the game this Sunday, of course, will kick off our celebrations on that. Tommy, you were involved in that discussion last year on what was Hive Live back then on a match day. Amazing to see the progress already made in a year and how just a conversation can spark something so incredible.
They've done great. They really have. Like you say, from it starting as an afterthought and maybe it could be done. They've done so well to come so far so quickly, and I think that's the important thing. And you know, listen to them talk, it just makes me a little bit nervous how many bad games I had while they were in the stadium. I do apologise, Laura and Kate, if that was the case.
Well, to be fair, Kate did say she comes to Alan Shearer, not you. So.
Well, I was injured by then, but nevertheless. No, you know, we mentioned the diversity and the safety and the security in a stadium, and absolutely, completely agree. Everybody should come to a game of football and feel safe, if nothing else. Even if you leave with no points, you should feel safe entering the stadium and leaving the stadium. So every little bit of initiative, and you know, so whether it be social media or public or on this show and others, the more you talk about it, the better it gets.
100%. Obviously for you, you've got 2 daughters. They would have been coming to watch you play on a match day and bits and pieces. So obviously groups like this encouraging more women and females and young girls to come to games is incredibly important, especially to make them feel comfortable, because I'm not too sure what their experiences were like coming to watch you play, because they would have been coming in to the ground with you, with the fans all around, and that environment can be quite daunting for anyone, but especially for 2 young girls. Yeah, not so much. They probably wouldn't come into the stadium, because as players you get here earlier than your family need to. They probably come in later, but certainly leave the stadium at Vicarage Road here with me. And I think the supporters knew, you know, I'd have hold of the girls' hands, and then later my son. If we won, it's fine. If we'd lost the game, then it would just be a very quick march back to the car and let's get home. But no, the girls loved it, and the girls have been mascots at every club I've played for since they were born. So they obviously loved that match day atmosphere, just as Laura and Kate, like all of the other women and ladies in the stadium. So I think that's, like I said, the most important thing is they feel safe, home or away. Because if you don't feel safe, you can't enjoy the football, and that's why we all love it. No, it certainly has, and it's great to see the development of the women's game as well. I'm going to be hearing from a couple of the women's players a little bit later on in the show. But first of all, we alluded to in that interview of a very special interview that both Kate and Laura have done with Christian Kabasele. It's going to be live on YouTube next week, but here's a little sneak peek.
I guess it's a totally different experience than when you were coming to the game before, maybe alone or without this group.
Yes, I mean, I think that Vicarage Road has always been a safe haven for women and children, but not so much away matches. So for WOW members to go to away matches together is just a real bonus. And also we go to the pub and we chat about Watford without the risk of being patronised, which is really good as well.
A real positive that's come from it has just been this community of women that none of us really seem to have had before. I think we're so used to seeing groups of men go to the football together, and wouldn't that just be great if it became normal to see a group of women going to the football together?
I think what's really important is obviously at home matches, you know where you sit, you know the people around you, but with the away tickets, you could be sat anywhere amongst the away fans. So it's really good once you're part of WOW and you get to know the other members, that you can go to these matches and know that this person or that person that you've met before is going to be there. I never used to go to away matches when I was a child. My first ever England match at Wembley was in the late 80s. And I went there thinking it was going to be like Vicarage Road, and oh boy, was it not, particularly at that time. You know, there were hardly any women at all, and I was on the terraces surrounded by people doing Nazi salutes, you know, and it was such a shock compared to here, which was always always a family community.
Yeah, that's what you say. I feel the same as well, and my wife as well. And she told me as well she felt the difference between going in big stadium like Wembley and coming here to Vicarage Road.
Well, there we go, a little sneak peek of that interview to celebrate International Women's Day with Kate and Laura. That is available to view on Tuesday on our YouTube channel. So make sure if you're watching on YouTube right now, you hit that subscribe button so you didn't miss any of the great content. Now, a little bit earlier on as well, I was joined by some of the women's team to discuss life here at Watford. So first of all, let's hear from Renée Hector. Renée, thanks so much for joining us today. Let's start things off with your recovery, because I know you've been struggling with injury for a little while now, but I hear you're back on the pitch and back in full training.
Yeah, thank goodness. So, yeah, it's been a long time. Probably been for a couple of years now since I last played a match. So we had a friendly at the weekend and I got some minutes in that, played half a game. So, yeah, it's just so good to be out with the girls on the grass and feel sort of really part of the team now. So yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, just kicking a football is just amazing.
Awesome, no, good to hear that. Let's delve into your story and your journey, of course, because you started as a youngster with Watford and then went away and come back again. So just talk us through your journey.
Yeah, that's right. So I played for a couple of grassroots teams, sort of local ones, Stevenage. Then I went over to Enfield, and then yeah, got scouted by Watford when I was about 10 or 11. So I came over to play for the under-12s, and around that time you could play for two teams then, one on a Saturday and Sunday, and then I had to pick. And of course I picked Watford, who was a centre of excellence at that time. And then yeah, sort of played up until I was about 20 at Watford, all through the age groups. Then I went over to Spurs for 3 good and successful seasons. Had a very short stint at Charlton, and now I've been back since January 2019, hoping to soon get my first actual cap since I've rejoined. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of years, hasn't it? How have you found it, obviously battling the injury as well?
Oh yeah, it's been super difficult, especially trying to recover during COVID. I think for a large period of my recovery, the season had been null and void, and we weren't actually in with the group and in with the club. So that was quite difficult, trying to sort of, you know, battle through that alone, essentially, with the hospital and stuff. But I'm just so grateful to be back with everybody now. And of course, I've had a few setbacks. I've had another surgery on my tonsils and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely been up and down for me. But I think now I'd like to think I'm on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, well, certainly looking forward to you making that appearance. Let's talk about football for you. Obviously, something that's a massive part of your life. Did you always want to be a footballer?
Yes and no. When I was younger, I sort of had a few things going on. So I did music, did athletics, and I did football. So it was those 3 things really, and I tried to put my all into them. But ultimately, when it got to the point where I had to sort of pick, as I was sort of getting to 17, 18, I ended up picking football. So it was clearly the thing that I loved the most. So.
It's amazing to see now, obviously, with like the WSL and the exposure that women's football is getting. How difficult was it for you to become a professional footballer in the women's game? Those obviously not too many years ago, but obviously it's been a very rapid progression and journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was super tough. I think it's just crazy how much it's expanded now, especially since the World Cup. I think when we won bronze, I think since that moment, women's football has just really taken off. Obviously, when I was younger, you know, we was playing in, you know, local parks on really boggy pitches, sort of paying our own subs and sorting out our own kit and stuff. So just such a rapid and positive change so quickly is amazing, and I'm really grateful to still be young enough to still be able to enjoy part of that as well. So yeah, it's incredible.
Who inspired you growing up born to be a footballer? Yeah,
well, obviously I grew up watching mainly men's football because there wasn't women's football on telly. There just wasn't. So I grew up as a Chelsea fan, so I loved sort of the likes of Frank Lampard and Drogba. I didn't actually start off as a defender. I was a striker, so those were sort of the players that I watched a lot. But from the women's game, I think it was really important to me as a young player, that even though I didn't realise it at the time, to see people that looked like me. So I really sort of enjoyed growing up watching like Alex Scott, Rachel Yankee, sort of Anita Asante. I tend to just be drawn to those players. So yeah, I remember going to watch them when they played for Arsenal and stuff live. I think it was about a £5 for me to get in back then. So yeah.
Yeah, that Arsenal team was quite pioneering, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I remember that. There's all those names that started to become in the media. It was great to see at that particular period. Talking to some more inspirational women, Helen Ward, of course, Welsh international, is in that Watford team. If I'm right in saying she's got a better goal-scoring record than Gareth Bale. How amazing is it having someone like Helen in the team?
Oh yeah, she's awesome. She's a top captain. I think she's somebody that really leads by example. She's not, you know, the most out there and the loudest character on the team, but she really does just lead by example, and the girls like to follow in her footsteps and always look to her when, you know, things aren't quite going right. So we've had a difficult season. She's always been there for us and always given us positive words to help us stay motivated and stuff. So yeah, it's a pleasure to share the training pitch with her, and hopefully soon I can share the playing pitch with her as well.
Massively. Just a quick word on this season, of course, because it's been a difficult season, but you guys have made such an amazing jump to obviously move into that next league up. That's not an easy move.
Yeah.
How's that been for you? Obviously, it's been tough watching from the sidelines, but the mood in the camp and how everyone's reacting to that.
Yeah, well, obviously it's been a season of up and downs, to be honest. So there have been some difficult moments, but there's been some highs as well. I think at the minute the group is in a really good place. I think the confidence is slowly starting to seep back into the group. And I think we'll start to see some positive results. I think our performances have been much better, sort of keeping the ball much better on the ball. And yeah, I think we can really go on and achieve some good things this season and climb the table. It's been difficult because you know, I've had experience in the Championship, towards the bottom, towards the top end. So I just like to sort of help in a way where, even though I haven't been able to help on the pitch, but my experience is off the pitch, just trying to sort of guide maybe some of the younger players and stuff, and sort of keep the group morale high.
Amazing. And just finally, there's going to be younger girls watching this that maybe want to follow in your footsteps. What advice would you give to them?
I would say that a football journey is never a simple and sort of a straight line up to success. There's always going to be up and downs, bumps in the road, probably get a few rejections along the way. So it's super tough, but you've just got to really have that self-belief, because if you put your mind to it, then you really can achieve wonderful things in this game. So you just got to keep going, and I like to think you just need to take the small wins as they come. I think especially as someone who's been through a tough injury, sort of little bits of progress, even though you're not right where you want to be, you have to still celebrate the small wins along the way.
Amazing. Renée, thank you so much,
No
and we
worries.
look forward to seeing you on that pitch very soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers for having me. Thank you.
Some great inspirational stuff there from Renée. After I chatted to Renée, I got the chance to catch up with a player who joined us in January, dual signed with Arsenal. It's Teyah Goldie. Teyah, great to have you in with us tonight in the studio. First of all, how are you settling in? Because obviously you're dual signed, you've joined us. How's it all going?
It's been good. It's been a great start, to be honest with you. I feel like I've settled in quick. Like I've said it several times before. The girls have been incredibly welcoming. And coming across their two different environments, but they're both benefiting me in different ways, and I'm just loving being in the Watford setup.
Obviously, we've spoken previously on the show about dual signings and how that kind of works. How does it work for you as a player?
So, predominantly in the week, I'm training with Arsenal in the mornings and getting, to be with some of the world's best players and, kind of learn so much from them. And then once or twice in the evenings, I'll come and join the Watford girls and train with them and kind of prepare for match days. And then obviously at the weekends, being with the girls for the games and, play, try and get the points.
And what's the mood like around camp? We've spoken throughout the season that we always knew it was going to be a tough season because of coming up into this league. It's a very competitive league. It is a jump for any team that comes in. What's it like in and around the team?
The team, I would say, is a very positive environment. The girls are always so supportive of each other, whether it's, for match days or there's girls going through injuries. So I'd say no matter what, it's a great environment to be in. And we just love that it's such a competitive league. Every game you're going into thinking, what can you get out of that, no matter what team you're playing? I think we've shown as well that, we can get results and push, the teams higher in the league. And the aim just for the rest of the season is to keep going and try and pick up as many points as we can.
Yeah, amazing. Let's talk about your footballing journey now. Was that always on the cards? Was football something you always wanted to do?
To be honest with you, it wasn't. I've got a funny story really of how I kind of first started playing football. I was at the shopping centre with my nan when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. And there were some girls, probably at the time they were players, handing out leaflets to just go to an Arsenal trial, and my nan was the one in the family that loved football at the time, so she pushed me to go. My mum wasn't even so keen, and I went along and I got in, and that's how I started playing for Arsenal in under-9s, and then I also joined my local boys team for the games, and that's how my career started really.
Nice. Obviously you mentioned Arsenal there. Over the last kind of decade, I think they're well and truly up there with the trailblazers in the women's game. You know, when you think of the names like the Alex Scotts and those kind of players that have been around that. Was that something that you, once you started playing, you were just looking up to and were inspired by?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the time, my whole family and even now, they all support Spurs. However, just from joining them and being in that, you know, environment and having those girls to look up to, I started supporting Arsenal. And yeah, it's a very iconic team. I think there's loads of names that you could name that kind of drew my inspiration for the game, certainly.
You mentioned obviously you played in a boys' team as well.
Yeah.
How challenging was that? Because I guess that's a story that a lot of young female players have had, you know, because the opportunities weren't there to play in an all-girls team. You know, how was that for you?
Definitely. I mean, I think it's been a very vital part of kind of my development, really. You know, I played for the boys' school team as well, and I think, you know, there's so much girls can learn from the boys' game as well in terms of physicality. There's a lot of different aspects, but I think that was certainly a point that I enjoyed, and trying to prove that, you know, girls can play football and surprising the parents if ever they were watching.
And was that a positive experience for you in the sense of how the other players reacted to you being in their team?
It was. I mean, initially I think there was probably a few surprise faces. Obviously I was kind of the first girl, and then after you've trained a couple of times and played the games, they obviously kind of saw, you know, she kind of can play football and accepted you, and then they were just supportive really from then on.
Amazing, that's great to hear. Obviously, over the last 3-4 years, the women's game has grown and grown and grown. How important is it that the fact that we see the WSL games on TV now, and that, you know, the girls playing here at Vicarage Road from time to time as well? How important is that?
I think it's massive. I think particularly this season you can kind of see the growth in that. I think it's so important just for girls and people all across the world to be able to watch it. I think the most simple thing is getting, you know, the game in front of people's eyes to watch, and the more that happens, I think the more simply the game will grow.
Does it ever dawn on you that there are young girls in the crowd that are watching you dream and are following your footsteps?
I mean, I don't think about it too much, but obviously I know that was once me, and all I just want to do is just keep playing and inspiring the girls. Yeah.
Amazing.
For the future.
Final question about inspiring that next generation even more. There's going to be young girls watching this that are kind of seeing you sat here and going, I want to be sat there, I want to be out on that pitch playing for Watford. What advice would you give them?
I think never give up. I know there's loads of setbacks in life, there's loads of challenges, but I think if you've got that dream, you've got that passion for football, just go for it. Don't let anything stop you, and just work hard. I mean, if you want to achieve, you know, you can. You've just got to put your all into it.
Amazing. Teyah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Cheers.
Well, great to hear there, both from Renée and Teyah. Tommy, it's amazing to see, as we've said before, how far the women's game has come and how incredible the setup we have here at Watford is. But we spoke there with both the players about young girls seeing them play football. That opportunity that there is now in the women's game and in women's sport, it's just invaluable, isn't it?
There's a focal point for inspiration, and I think that's the key to it. You know, all young boys have had for many, many years the opportunity to see people that and dream and aspire to follow in their footsteps. Now the women's game has that, and it's becoming so much more professional, which is hugely important, because it has to run as closely as possible to how the men's game is run. Not just with facilities and structure of football clubs, but also in, you know, the way that the game's played. And I think it's coming on in leaps and bounds. It really is. And the fact that we're talking about it is the most important thing, because people will, or women will, and men will go to games of football. They'll watch shows like this because they love football. It's almost irrelevant who the listener or the viewer is, it's because of their love of football, and it's vital that there's that diversity between the two games.
I think it was really important what Renée said as well, the fact that she had been involved at Watford from under 12 with that centre of excellence, and obviously she went on to Tottenham before coming back. But the fact is that Watford's had an eye on this for a very long time.
Well, we won't hold the fact that she's gone to Tottenham for a little while against that. But yeah, I genuinely think that. I mean, we've seen that the work that the academy does with the boys within the academy. Now that's opening up to girls for the academy. So all of that, it's, you know, I have to say, both young girls speak so well at their age. I know at 17 and 18, 19, I'd have been a gibbering wreck in front of a camera, and they spoke so well. And I think that's, you know, part of it. We've spoken about how the young players in the academy system, Richard Johnson says, you're preparing them for life and you're educating them for life, whether it be on a football pitch or not. And I think that seems to be bearing fruits in all of the clubs around the region.
Certainly is. Right, let's keep our attention then on International Women's Day, of course, which is next week, and we begin our celebrations, as I said already, not only tonight, but of course against Arsenal at the weekend. And let's continue it now with our 60-second challenge, because taking it up next is Rosie Kmita.
I'm Rosie Kmita, and this is my 60-second challenge.
Home games or away games?
Away.
Netflix or Prime?
Netflix.
Football Manager or FIFA?
FIFA.
Favourite food?
Lasagna.
Favourite TV series?
The Crown.
Long distance or short distance running?
Short distance.
Favourite social media channel?
Instagram.
Text message or phone call?
Phone call.
Favourite song?
Oh, Lewers Capaldi.
City life or country life?
City life.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Dream dinner guest?
Michael Jackson.
Red sauce or brown sauce? Most famous person on your phone?
Pro.
Coach or train to away games?
Coach.
Worst thing about pre-season?
Running.
Studs or blades?
Blades.
Teammate with the worst dance moves?
Flow.
Matchday superstition?
Huh?
Matchday superstition?
I don't have any. Oh, what was that? Why did I say lasagna?
As soon as you said lasagna, we was downhill from there.
Tommy sat there with relief on his face, of course, after still remaining in that top 5, joint top 5th, holding on to that place still, just
getting closer to that 5th medal.
The 5th medal. I don't know if we've got a 5th medal, but we'll make one just for you.
Top 5. It sounds so much better than 6th.
It does. So it does. Although you are joint 5th with about 3 or 4 other people. So.
Well, just look at the fact. I'm joint 5th.
You're joint 5th. You certainly are. Right, let's continue the show now, because of course, there's always great stuff on our YouTube channel. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, do it right now, because there's lots of little snippets coming up on there, including stuff like this, as we take another look at a day to remember from 2 years ago.
Dini, decent ball. Ismail Assar away from Van Dijk, away from Lovren. Ismail Assar!
Pretty much sat in this seat, maybe a little bit further along, and expecting, well, I'm not sure what I was expecting. I was concerned for Watford.
We was right here in these very seats, yeah.
Yes, I was in the press box here, so yeah, like most people, expecting just to see Liverpool take another step closer to ending that 30-year wait for the title.
I was diagnosed with leukemia, and then Ben came to our house and he promised me and Harrison to be mascots at the Liverpool game, and then it happened.
Managed to get her booked in for the Liverpool game, but it was always going to be a bit of a tough ask because she wasn't feeling so great, and it was always a bit sort of, iffy whether she can actually come to the game, whether she's going to be able to see it through, all that kind of stuff. But she did. She felt well enough for that Liverpool game in particular. Got in a wheelchair, got down to the stadium, boom, sort of skirting around the corners and all that kind of stuff. She was good to go.
Yeah, this is the seat I've been sitting in with my dad for the past, 15 years or so. So, yeah, familiar territory in that day, mate. That's one that I won't forget for a long time.
So the full version of that is now available on YouTube, so make sure you check that out after tonight's show, and it's also appears on social media channels as well. Time now then to ask Tommy a question. I'm giving you a week off from a game of Ask Tommy because, of course, we don't have another live guest in the studio tonight, so a week to practice for next week. A couple of comments before I asked Tommy some questions that you've sent in. First one comes from Charlotte Gibson. Thank you very much for getting in touch, Charlotte. Really great to see the club supporting a group like WOW. It would have been great to have a group like this when I started coming to the Vic back in the 80s. You owned WFC. Excellent job, Laura and Kate, on the work and the vital need for more female fans at football stadia and the change that Watford FC supports enthusiastically. You can't be what you can't see. Well said, Kate. So thank you very much for those comments on what we've had on the show this evening. Questions for Tommy now. Rachel said, if you had to vote now for which player who would be in the running for player of the season, who would you pick?
Craig Cathcart.
Okay, reason?
I just think he's been excellent. Really has, whether he's played at right back or right centre half. I think he's probably been the most consistent and probably played the most amount of games, actually. But I do think that Samir coming in and giving him some balance with his left foot and making that, we always talk about the triangle with the goalkeeper, making that as strong as you possibly can. I think he's been really strong this season.
Okay, next question comes from Sammy. Sammy says, please can you settle a debate that I'm having and tell me what you think João Pedro's best position is?
I think his best position is a 10. If we played a 4-2-3-1, that suits João better, in my opinion. I don't think when he goes up against and plays with his back to goal, I think it's a little bit more difficult for him this season than it was last. But you can only play your best football if you're getting minutes on the pitch, and his form hasn't suggested he should be starting games.
Okay, final question comes from Alfie. Please can we have your best angry Robbo anecdote?
Well, I've had 20 minutes on the phone with him tonight and he's moaning about all sorts. So Robbo he does everything in an angry way. He's told the running machine one, hasn't he, where he ran onto the running machine as a bet, tried to get onto the running machine while it was going at 12 mile an hour. Didn't believe everybody that he couldn't run onto it, so he sprinted at it in the gym. And obviously, as the wheel's going round, it's knocked him to the floor and he's cut all of his chin and ended up about 10 feet back against the wall.
Ouch.
He was quite angry at that point.
Love that. Amazing. Thank you very much for all your questions. As always, always good to have them on the show with us. Right, let's round up things tonight then, and let's look ahead to Arsenal this weekend. Tommy, obviously coming off the back of that Villa point at United as well. Obviously, big chance to get some more on the board against Arsenal potentially.
I think the most important thing is we put on a show in front of the Vicarage Road crowd. We've seen it away from home, the best performances, even including Manchester United before at home. I think Villa away, Old Trafford away, Goodison away have been our best performances. Aston Villa in the first game of the season at Vicarage Road was a strong performance, but we haven't really played that well at home. So I think it's going to be intriguing how we set up, because Arsenal are a possession-based team. Possibly on the counter-attack we'll have opportunities, but we also know that that's one of our biggest strengths. So it'll be interesting to see how both teams set up. If we could go and get 3 points at home on the back of that draw away at Manchester United, that would really make people sit up and sat around us in the table.
Let's take a look at the results that Arsenal have had in the recent weeks then, and it shows you can get some points off them. Of course, Burnley, who are down with us at the moment at the same kind of area in the table, they managed to get a point off Arsenal. Obviously, we know how Burnley played, so is that maybe the way forward to be defensive and then try and hit on the counter?
They just couldn't break them down on the day. Very similar to Aston Villa against us a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, you have to have that defensive, strategic mindset, but also know that you've got a little bit of pace on the break, and if they commit too many players forward, then that counter-attack is there for us. We will need to be fortunate. We know that. We've seen it at Old Trafford. It can happen again, but we also need to take our chances when we get them. We didn't do that at Old Trafford because we could have left with 3. So I think it'd be really important that the concentration levels, and obviously a home game against Arsenal, the atmosphere is going to be great. Sunday afternoon. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, massively. Of course, you'll be on commentary for that one as well. So we look forward to hearing your voice on that one. Of course, if you can't get to the game, make sure you keep up to date with all the social media channels. And of course, you can listen in to Tommy as well. We'll let you get back off to your painting and decorating. Hopefully it's slightly more fruitful than it has been today.
Got the carpets being delivered in the morning. It's bound to look much better.
You got someone fitting those, right? You're not trying that yourself?
I'm not doing anything myself ever again.
Tommy, thank you as always. Good to have your company on the show.
Thank you.
Massive thank you to you as always for joining us. Of course, don't forget our celebrations for International Women's Day and Women's History Month all get underway this Sunday. Keep your eye out for that interview with Christian Kabasele and Kate and Laura, which is going to be live on our YouTube from Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.